Hey y'all, welcome back. So today we're gonna work on inventory and declutter of my cream face products. This is all of my cream blushes, cream highlighters, and I've also got a couple contour products in here. So let's jump in. First up, first up is going to be this collection from Finding Ferdinand and Khaki Reviews Beauty. I need to really make some decisions. I don't want to keep all six of these. I'm not going to be able to use them up in time before they go off. And I know that some of these my friends can enjoy because this is such a beautiful formula that anybody can use it. Same with these two. I don't necessarily feel like I need to declutter these, but I'm gonna swatch them with all of my single in the pot blushes. That's the word. I think these are gonna be just a bit easier or they're gonna be much harder. I don't know which. That makes things a little easier. This is Paloma. This is the lightest shade, and honestly, if I'm going to declutter any of the corals, it's probably going to be this one. As far as what I have in my collection, this just isn't all that special. It's pretty, but it's not unique to my collection. Spritz, I don't know about. I think this is really smooth. I think I've barely used this, but it's such a beautiful color. Yeah, it is. It is. It's bright. It's beautiful. I still don't know how I feel about these. I don't know how I feel about keeping them. Aperitif, I think maybe the one. Okay, these all need to get used again before I can make any decisions. Now I'm looking at keeping Paloma. This was aperitif. Damn it, why did these have to be so pretty? The browns, I'm pretty sure I'm keeping all of these. This is latte. These are so creamy and they really just take nothing to warm up. Yeah, latte is staying. She's good. Olay, which I keep saying is Olay, but it's Olay, meaning with milk. That has become one of my go-to blushes because it is just look at it against my skin tone. It's just like the whole beige collection. I should have listened to my gut and just not picked up the corals. I got the beiges because I knew that I would use them and they'd get a lot of love from me. The corals were an impulse FOMO buy that I didn't need to make. And it's good to have that information. Got a little fuzz or something in there. That happens with cream products, especially when you use brushes in them. Those are all of the Finding Ferdinand and Khaki Reviews beauty blushes. They're perfect. They're gorgeous. They look like Linda Evangelista. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. The browns I know are staying. Not so sure about the darker corals. I might actually keep Paloma. And here we have two blushes from Phytosurgence. Phytosurgence and Finding Ferdinand are not at all similar formulas. This is a melty, smooth, you pick up a lot at a time, where with the khaki, the Finding Ferdinand formula, they're soft, but they're very silicone-y. So you almost need to build them up to get them true to color. Whereas with these, you pick up so much product in one finger swipe that it's actually not going to um, represent, it's not going to represent what the color is going to look like on the cheeks because there's so much of it. though, look at it against those browns. It fits right in. This is Fume, by the way. This is the Phytosurgence Skin Spark blush formula. And these are some of my favorites. This is Sublimate. It's very raisin. All of their blushes are just such cool, interesting colors that perform in an inexplicable way on the skin. They blend out, they do blur, and they're pretty bulletproof once you get them on there. For cream blushes, these last a good long time. So I'm going to keep the two Phytosurgents and browns from Khaki's collection. I have not made decisions about the corals yet, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. Let's talk about a couple of these squeezy and other tubey products. By the way, if you are wondering about my Salt New York products, I did a whole separate video swatching my entire Salt New York collection. So I will, if that is up, I will link it. If not, it will be up shortly. Okay, let's get down to brass tacks here. Let's do some swatching. Yes, the first ones we're gonna do are these little tubey guys. This is everything I thought it would be. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Matte Beauty Blush Wand in Pillow Talk. I have a mini because I bought it in a set. If you're curious about what else came in that set, my first video up on this channel was my haul for 2023. Fall and Black Friday. That is Pillow Talk. That's built up, but it is creamy and smooth and emollient. And someone outside is playing a trumpet, so we'll just have to move with it. This is another Matte Beauty Blush Wand in Pink Pop. This is beautiful. It's thin, it's bright. It really does wake up the face. This last one is from e.l.f. This is one of their Halo Glow Beauty Blush Wands in the shade Magic Hour. I don't compare these to the Charlotte Tilbury because they're different. I don't like this idea of makeup being redundant of itself. This is different from anything I've used or experienced with Charlotte Tilbury. I also have one of her highlight wands, so let's just swatch all of the Charlotte together. This is in the shade Peachgasm, and honestly, this is going to be something that's going to be on the docket to Project Pan next year. And it's not that it's bad, it's that I forget about it. So there you can see you've got the e.l.f. in the middle. This is the Charlotte Tilbury, and then these two are the blush wands. And I have no reason to declutter any of those. They're not redundancies in my collection. They're not too similar. I do want to swatch these against the Hindash matte color fluid in Hardest. Because I do use this as a blush. I tend to put it on in a really thin layer. It's for my skin tone, which is cool to peach leaning. I'm not as like bright pink as I originally thought I was. Okay, back to blush. This is Hardest from Hindash. I absolutely adore these matte color fluids. They are beyond. Since we're talking about Hardest, I also thought I'd pull out the rest of Hindash's Matte Beauty Blush Wand line. I keep these in different places. I use the lighter and the darker one on my eyes. This one's canvas. That's what one of the things it's meant for. And when you layer it really thinly, you get obviously a very thin layer of product. You can still see the skin through it, but you can really build that up to a full opacity. So if you are looking to completely blank out your eyelid, or really make your eyeshadow stand out, this is phenomenal for that. I admit I don't use this as much as I thought I would. It doesn't really help with the hyperpigmentation on the inside of my eyes, but if I've really mucked up my eyeshadow, I can put a layer of this on top, set it with powder, and I have a clear base to start with. This is Thorn. Again, this is one that I have a hard time using, mostly because it is just so dark and so saturated. It takes very little to do anything, and all I really use dark brown on my face for is eyeliner. And I don't do eyeliner that often because my eyes are really sensitive. Carve, I love. This is a fantastic contour, not just for the face, but also for the eyes. I've used this in my crease, and I use this to carve out my jawline to give myself a little bit more chin. And as a contour, it's perfect. It's skin friendly. It's not terribly gray, but it's also not terribly warm, which is what you want in a good contour. You want something that's got a fair amount of coolness to it. Let's see if we can add these babies. This is Danessa Myricks Ballet Slippers. This is one of my favorite and most used and most loved cream blushes. I took a 2-week road trip over the summer, and this is the only blush I used. I took others. It's just that this is the one that lived in my brain, that was in my makeup bag, and I reached for it every day, and I was never disappointed. It has this beautiful self-leveling quality to it. So regardless of how you put it on, it's eventually going to just even out nice and smooth and stay where you put it. Westman Atelier Bichette. Admittedly, I have not gotten as much use out of this as I would like. This needs to be something I focus on in the new year. I don't necessarily want to pan it, but I bought it last holiday season, so it is already a year old, and I'm not sure what the shelf life for this is. Look at that color, though. That is a rich red that I can actually wear. That's not going to pull too blue toned or too orange toned. It's lovely. And the formula is just, it's spectacular. Make Beauty. I don't know if I'm going to keep this. Honestly, I bought it because it was novel. This is one of their heat stroke blushes in the shade Slush. And it's beautiful, but it's not necessarily beautiful on me. It looks like a bruise because it has so much blue in it. It just looks like I've been punched in the face. So I think I am going to let this one go. Rare Beauty, this is Hope. This is the shade that has like swept the world. I picked it up because I wanted to try the formula, and I'd heard good things about this shade. And it was on sale. It's perfect. It is the perfect pinky, peachy nude. It doesn't have a lot of brown in it, and that's fine. If I want blushes with brown in them, I have them. This is another formula similar to the Danessa Myricks that really has this beautiful self-leveling property to it. Very easy to travel with. And I know that it was not done intentionally to be ergonomic, but as somebody who is, as time goes by, I am going to be developing mobility issues with my hands. I love the packaging design. The doe foot is huge and scoops out a lot, almost to the point where you need to wipe it off on the inside. These are fabulous little blushes, and they're worth it. If I didn't have such a huge collection of cream blushes, I would buy more. All right, last one is gonna be, at least in this round, this last one is Rituel de Fille Lust. This is their Inner Glow Cream Pigment. This is my favorite cream blush of all time. And you look at it and you're like, oh my God, that's going to be so dark. And then you put it on and you sheer it out. And it's got a lot of brown in it. It's got a little red and some purple, but it is mucky and glorious. This is the OG Raisin product in my collection. This product made me see what was possible with shades and tones like this. And I absolutely love it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Moving right along. And up last in the cream blush category is Glossier. I know that there are a couple shades here that I'm going to be getting rid of. I have Storm, I have Beam, I have Dawn, Dusk. This is Dusk. Puff, Spark, and Haze. So let's start at the lightest and work to the deepest. I think that's a good strategy. So Dusk. Dusk is beautiful as a mixer. I feel like on me it pulls a little sickly. Pulls a little orange, pulls a little beige, but more of an orange beige than I'm comfortable wearing on its own. Next up is going to be Puff. This is not a shade for those with deeper skin. This has a very harsh white backing to the pigment. You also see I'm trying to get as little as possible. If you are familiar with the Glossier cloud paints, then you know you don't want or need very much. And if you're looking for a cream blush that is going to settle down and just stay put, the cloud paint formula is going to do that. It's not going to whine and moan and complain. It's just going to do what you want it to do. This is Beam. There are products on the market that can do the same thing, that are a little more elegantly formulated. You know, I thought I would keep Beam, but I don't think so. I really don't. It just doesn't feel right to me. I'm also not going to keep Puff. Good gracious, I cannot get the cap on. These last three, two are definitely on the chopping block. So I'm keeping Storm. Storm is my running through the fjords, windswept cheeks, raisin kind of blush. And when you mix it with Dusk, you get a lot more warmth to it. And it's so pretty. It's pretty as is. It's pretty mixed in with other stuff. But all I ever mix it with is Dusk. So I'm just going to keep these two. And then I'm going to declutter Haze and Spark. But I'll let you see what they look like. So Haze is very blue-toned purple. Very dark. And also, it's too raspberry for me. It's gorgeous, and I have friends who will enjoy these, but that shade just does not work on me. And it makes me so sad because I want to wear that shade. I so want to, but after the lessons I've learned this year about color theory and what actually works on me, this is not something that I feel good hanging on to. This is a hard one to let go of because I have played with this so many different ways and just have yet to find a way that it will work on me. This is Spark. This is a red blush. So if you have deep skin, red blush is going to do wonders for you. For me, it makes me look like a tomato. I tried using this for that strawberry girl makeup look this summer. I just looked like I had a sunburn, and not in a pleasant way. I looked like a lobster. So there you have it, all 6 of the Glossier cloud paints. They're pretty, they're just not as elegant as they used to be. These used to be head of the cream blush market, but with so much innovation comes so much competition. And I would much rather use any of my other cream blushes that are just easier to apply and easier to use. Okay, with blushes out of the way, we can talk cream highlighters and bronzers. I don't have a whole lot because cream bronzer up until this year was something I really didn't think I liked. But a couple formulas came along that changed that. Let's talk about bronzers first because I have more of those. That's not true. But we're going to do bronzers first. Here we have two of the Phytosurgence Spectral Sunlight Cream Bronzers. So I have shade 1, which is Golden Daybreak, and I have shade 2, which is Rosy Daybreak. I ordered these. I wasn't sure which shades to go with. So I went with the two lightest, and honestly, the Golden Daybreak shade, I have found one use for it, and it's it is something I will use and will continue to use. It's a little harder for me to get a really satisfactory application. However, if I want the lightest application just to change the tone in my under eyes, this does that. So when I start filming videos where I'm actually putting on makeup, you'll see that this is a little too yellow. It's a little too yellow and it's a little too green. It is not all that I want in a golden bronzer. Rosy Daybreak, however. So this is a really weird formula. You touch it and it feels hard. And I don't think you're supposed to use your fingers, but at the same time, it feels like that top layer just hardens and you have a hard time getting more product. So I end up needing to warm it up with my fingers a lot for not a lot of payoff. But when I use this with the right brush, it's beautiful. That is a perfect neutral bronzer for me, as opposed to Golden Daybreak, which is a little too green. You can see how this one just works with my skin tone a little bit better. We then have the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Transforming Skin Enhancer. That is a mouthful, but this product is glorious. It's hydrating. I wouldn't call it a bronzer. Khaki refers to it as another step in your base routine, and I completely agree with that. This is paramount to just making your face look like your face instead of you've put a bunch of makeup on. This just looks like your skin is shining through and it's healthy. The formula also is really creamy, really thin. It does attract little fluff and fuzz. If that's a problem for you, use a sponge. I prefer it with a brush, and that's how I end up with fuzz in my products. The 5 cats don't hurt. All right, these last 4. This is the only cream contour. I have the taupe shade from Salt New York. I have this, and I have Carve from Hindash. And of the 3, this one is actually my favorite. This is the Oma contour stick. This is the new iteration. Apparently it had another, they revised the packaging and got rid of the other end that had like a highlighter and a sponge, and they sell the contour by itself now. And I'm so glad they do because it's gorgeous. These last 4 are my cream highlighters. This is one I don't hear other people talk about. This is the Tristique Highlight and Perfect Multi-Purpose Stick in the shade Maldives Luminescent. The last time I purchased this, it was on Amazon. It was in Sephora for a while, but they, like brands do, they left. I love this highlighter. It is smooth. I wouldn't use the word creamy. It's thin. It's almost like this veil that you're placing over everything else. And I love it. I love it. The next one is from Rituel de Fille. This is their Rare Light Cream Luminizer in Phosphine. This is the closest thing I have to a color changing highlighter that I use. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it very well next to the one from Tristique, especially given that my arm is stained from the cloud paints. There we go. So that's the Tristique. And that right there is the Ritual Defeat. So the Ritual Defeat looks really dark on my arm, but given that I usually put it over or under my blush, it blends right in. These are the two newest to my collection. So I've got the Milk Bionic Glow in the shade Virtual. And you can see it's similar to these three. I do have a type when it comes to liquid and cream highlighters. I like things that are natural. I like things that have a little bit of my natural skin tone under them so that they're not as harsh and stark and blinding. I don't need to be sending signals up to the aliens with my highlight. This is a quad from RMS Beauty. I have heard about their living luminizers for a long time. So when I saw they came in a little quad, I got very excited and very curious. So far, I'm still sussing these guys out. It really is a nice formula. It's creamy. I have not had luck using a brush with these. I tend to need to use my fingers because the fingers actually warm up the product. So that's the bottom row right there. That's the whitest, and that's the next one. And then we've got this peachy shade. And that's the brown highlight. I'm thinking about using that as like a very, very light beige glowy blush. But yeah, I am still trying to suss out this highlight and figure out how it is designed to be used, how it likes to be used, how it doesn't like to be used. I know it doesn't like to go on top of powder because it picked up my entire base the first time I used it. That'll do it for today, folks. Those are all of my cream blushes, highlights, contours, etc. So that'll do it for today's declutter. Stay tuned. Obviously, I have more coming up. I'm staring at 2 huge bins of powder products that are next. I hope you're taking care of yourself so you can take care of those around you. And I'll talk to you later, friends. Bye. These are stay. Good dog. the e.l.f. Cream Cheeks palette that I'm going to keep I'm going to keep panning.